Look at you, Julian. 30 years old, wearing a cheap sweater, and still talking about your freelance projects, while your brother just closed a six-figure deal for the family firm. My father, Arthur Vance, didn't lower his voice. He wanted everyone at the Christmas table, the uncles, the cousins, the business partners, to hear. "You are a failure, son, a disappointment to the Vance name," he continued, raising his wine glass. "In this family, we build empires. You just build excuses. I should have taken you out of the will years ago." My brother, Victor, chuckled, adjusting his gold watch. "Don't be too hard on him, Dad. Not everyone is born to lead. Someone has to stay at the bottom of the ladder." I looked at my plate, silent. "Is that really what you think, Father?" "It's not a thought, Julian. It's a fact. Now pass the gravy and try not to break the bowl. It's worth more than your car." "Hi, my name is Julian Vance. To my family, I was the black sheep who refused to join the family's real estate conglomerate, Vance International. They saw me as a quitter who spent his days in a small rented studio apartment, supposedly playing with apps. For 5 years, I was the butt of every joke at every family gathering. But there was something Arthur and Victor didn't know. When I left the family business at 25, I didn't leave because I was lazy. I left because I saw the books. I saw that Vance International was a house of cards, built on predatory loans and aging infrastructure. I knew it would collapse. Instead of fighting them, I started my own firm under a pseudonym, Xenon Global. For 5 years, I lived on ramen and coffee, pouring every cent into a tech-driven logistics platform that revolutionized how commercial real estate is managed. While Victor was busy buying Ferraris with the company's diminishing cash flow, I was quietly acquiring the debt of Vance International's biggest suppliers. I didn't want the Vance name, I wanted the Vance assets. By December of this year, Xenon Global had become a multi-billion-dollar entity. No one knew who the CEO was. I used a frontman for all public appearances. To the world, Xenon was a mysterious titan. To my father, I was still just the failure who couldn't afford a seat at the adult table. Christmas dinner wasn't just a holiday event. It was a desperate display of wealth. Arthur had spent a fortune on the catering and the decorations, trying to prove to his investors, who were also at the table, that Vance International was still strong. But I had been doing my homework. Through Xenon's data analytics, I knew that Arthur's 3 biggest projects in the city were 3 months behind schedule. I knew he had defaulted on his secondary loans from the Sterling Bank. I sat there listening to Victor brag about his new yacht while I checked my phone under the table. A message from my COO, Sarah, popped up. "The Sterling debt has been transferred to us. We now hold 61% of Vance International's liabilities. The trap is set, Julian. Just give the word." I looked up at Arthur. He was laughing with Mr. Henderson, a billionaire investor he was trying to woo. "Julian," Arthur barked, noticing me on my phone. "If you're checking your bank balance to see if you can afford dessert, don't bother. I've already paid for it. It's the only way you'll ever taste something this expensive." "I'm actually just waiting for a delivery, Father," I said calmly. "A delivery? On Christmas? What, did you order a pizza because the turkey looked too intimidating?" Victor joked, and the table erupted in laughter. "Something like that," I replied. The dinner moved to the library for cigars and brandy. This was where Arthur made his big moves. He pulled Mr. Henderson aside, trying to convince him to inject $50 million into the Vance expansion. "It's a sure thing, Bill," Arthur said, his voice booming. "My son Victor here has the vision. We just need the liquidity to finalize the deal with Xenon Global. They're the ones controlling the tech side of the market now. If we merge with them, we own the city." "Xenon Global?" Mr. Henderson asked, intrigued. "I've heard they are impossible to reach. Their CEO is a ghost. Do you actually have a meeting with them?" "Scheduled for Monday," Victor lied through his teeth. "We're basically partners already." I stood by the fireplace, swirling my brandy. I knew for a fact they didn't have a meeting. They had been ghosted by my assistants 6 times in the last month. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was 9:30 p.m. "Who the hell is that?" Arthur grumbled. I told the staff no more guests. My father's head butler approached, looking confused. Sir, there is a woman at the door. She says she is here for the CEO of Xenon Global. The room went silent. Arthur's eyes widened. The CEO is here? In my house? They must have tracked me down to sign the pre-agreement. He straightened his tie, looking at Victor with excitement. You see, Victor? This is how it's done. They came to us. Arthur sprinted to the foyer, with the investors and Victor trailing behind like hungry dogs. I followed slowly, leaning against the doorway of the hallway. Standing in the foyer was Sarah, my chief operating officer. She was dressed in a sharp midnight blue power suit, holding a sleek carbon fiber briefcase. She looked every bit the high-level executive. Miss Sarah? Arthur gasped, recognizing her from financial magazines. What a surprise! I'm Arthur Vance. We were expecting to meet on Monday, but please come in. Let's get the champagne. Sarah didn't move. She didn't smile. She looked past Arthur, scanning the room. I'm not here for a social visit, Mr. Vance, she said, her voice commanding the entire room. I am here because my CEO informed me that he was currently being harassed at a private dinner, and he wanted to finalize the paperwork immediately to put an end to the unpleasantness. Harassed? Arthur blinked, confused. By whom? I'll have them removed. But first, about the merger. Sarah opened the briefcase and pulled out a thick stack of legal documents. This isn't a merger agreement, Mr. Vance. This is a debt-to-equity takeover notice. As of 4 hours ago, Xenon Global has acquired your outstanding debt from Sterling Bank. Combined with our existing shares, we now hold a controlling interest in Vance International. Arthur's face went from red to a terrifying shade of gray. Takeover? You can't. We were supposed to be partners. The board has already voted. Arthur and Victor Vance are to be removed from all executive positions effective midnight. You have 2 hours to vacate the corporate offices. Who? Victor screamed. Who is the CEO? Who is doing this to us? Sarah turned toward me and stepped aside, bowing her head slightly. The paperwork is ready for your signature, sir. The silence that followed was deafening. Arthur turned around, his mouth hanging open, looking at me, the failure in the cheap sweater. Julian? He whispered, his voice cracking. What have you done? I didn't order a pizza, Father, I said, walking forward and taking the pen from Sarah. I ordered the Vance legacy. Since you think I'm such a disappointment, I figured I'd take the company off your hands so you can focus on your retirement. You're fired. I signed the papers on the very table where Arthur had insulted me an hour ago. Mr. Henderson, the billionaire investor, walked over to me, ignoring my father entirely. Julian Vance, Xenon Global. I had a feeling that tech felt familiar. Incredible move, son. We need to talk about that expansion on Monday. My office at 9 a.m., Bill, I said, shaking his hand. Victor tried to lunge at me, but Sarah's security team, who had arrived right behind her, blocked his path. You snake! Victor yelled. You stole our company! I didn't steal it, Victor. I bought it, with the money I made while you were busy building the Vance name at strip clubs and casinos, I replied. Arthur sat down on the stairs, looking like a broken man. The Vance International logo on the foyer floor was now a reminder of everything he had lost. Julian, please, Arthur said, his eyes glassy. We're family. Family doesn't call their son a failure at Christmas dinner, Arthur, I said. Family doesn't treat people like rungs on a ladder. You taught me how to be a shark. Don't be surprised when I bite. The Vance estate was sold 3 months later. Arthur and Victor moved into a small condo, one of the few assets I didn't seize, out of a pity I probably shouldn't have felt. I rebranded the company to Xenon Vance, but within a year I dropped the Vance name entirely. People ask me if I regret doing that on Christmas, if it was too cruel to take everything while the tree was still glowing. My answer is always the same. My father told me that in this family we build empires. I just happened to build one that was bigger than his. Value isn't about the name you're born with. It's about the one you build when no one is watching. My name is Julian, and I'm no longer a failure. I'm the owner.